Sleeping very soundly on a Saturday morning, I was dreaming I was Al Capone. There's a rumor going round, gotta clear out of town. I'm smelling like a dry fish bone. Here comes the law, gonna break down the door, gonna carry me away once more. Never, never, I never want it anymore. Gotta get away from this stone cold floor. Crazy, stone cold crazy. You know, we are the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter, stone cold crazy ourselves. What's happening?
We are stone cold crazy.
Yes.
No question about it.
Or maybe the people we're going to talk about today are a little stone cold crazy.
I think they're beyond stone cold crazy. Stone cold implies that they're like a rock or something, but these people are alive. It's like they're fire crazy or something like that. You know,
yeah, they're
different thing. Jay,
yes.
I have to just say something here.
Yeah.
First off, happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Question for you.
Yes.
And I get to always make fun of the fact you're a few years older than I am. Are birthdays a big deal to you anymore?
I'd just as soon stop having them, I guess.
Well, we don't get an option on that. But I mean, you know, I'm just the reason I ask is this: my birthday, is a couple weeks after Christmas,
right?
And it's never really been a huge deal. I mean, a huge deal.
All right.
I always wanted to go to a Twins game for my birthday, and of course, I never could, you know, because it's just,
right. It's just not going to happen.
And I got to tell you something. As much as I love my family and friends and all that, the gifts everybody's tapped out from Christmas and stuff. It's like I used to get whatever gift somebody didn't want to return. I think that was kind of given to me. It's like, you know what? Hey, you know, you don't like that toenail clipper that, Uncle George got you? Well, you know, Richter's birthday's in 2 weeks. Let's put it in a package and give it to him. That's what I always felt like. You know, so.
Yeah. You know, and I'm just on the other side of it, so it's kind of the same thing, too. It's like, Christmas is coming up, you know.
Yeah.
We don't
have give you that $10 gift certificate to Walgreens or something. And that's
or it's like it always happens to be that's like the first weekend of deer season, and so people just would rather hunt than be around for my birthday. So.
I mean, I from family. I mean, I usually, you know, it seems like with everybody else's birthday, we all go out to dinner or we do something. With mine, you know, I might get a phone call. I don't care anymore, but it's just weird how some people's birthdays are a big deal and some people's birthdays aren't.
Right.
They just aren't. And I know I'm getting up there.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and believe me, I can't believe sometimes how much time has passed. And you just want to slow it down, and it never slows down.
Right.
I mean, it's just anyway. Happy birthday! A year wiser, and all that.
Or you're more foolish. I don't know. Time will tell.
I'll take the former. I think you're a year wiser.
All right.
I wouldn't do this show if I thought you were getting more foolish, unless it made me really look good. Then I would continue it. But Jay,
wow, that's good. Wow.
Anyway,
you care so long as it's in the general sense. So if it makes you look good, then you don't care.
Consider me a politician when it comes to caring.
Well, good.
Okay, so no, I'm joking, of course. Jay, we have to throw a quick congrats out to Dan Specht from Ramsey.
Yeah.
Elected in a special election. Dan was on the show in September. Hopefully, of course, you can go into the archives, and judging by the numbers, you're doing that. And check out her show with him. And Nadine Heinrich, he joins her on the city council, who was elected last year, who was on the program last year as well. So congrats to our friends up in Ramsey.
He won 60-40.
60-40. Making good decisions up there. Jim Deal must be losing a little political clout. I can't believe in a special...
Not making very good deals.
Well, in a special election, I mean, I can't believe that, you know...
Well, they just don't have turnout. That's the problem, you know, and...
It's a problem, generally speaking, with odd-year elections, which we'll get into in a second.
You turn out your base, and you got a good shot.
Yeah, it's sad, because politics should be about more than that. You represent everybody, not just the zealots who agree with you. So, you know, that's a problem. I wanted to mention a quick story here. I don't know if you saw this. In fact, I want to get your honest reaction to it. Okay. So I held it back until now, Jay, as I do that sometimes.
Are you sending it over on the futuristic transporter of information machine there?
The phone? Yeah. That's voters in Boston. With, they're shopping cats.
Yeah.
Rejected a proposal to rename Dudley Square in the Roxbury neighborhood of Boston.
Yeah.
Because it's named after a guy named Dudley who was a slave supporter or something like that.
So it wasn't named after like Dudley Do-Right.
I was wondering that. I had to look it up who this Thomas Dudley guy was.
Yes, it wasn't named after the Dudley boys.
Yeah, no, not Dudley Do-Right, nothing like that. Not Dudley Avenue in Crystal, nothing. It was not named after that. Voters rejected it by a 54-46 margin in a explain this to me.
Yeah.
This is what caught my eye in the story, and I don't know how I got onto this. I don't know if this was. I think maybe I saw it on the news or saw it on. Trying to think if I saw it on a podcast or where I saw this, but I had known about it for a little while, and I checked it out election night, and it did get rejected. It was a non-binding vote. Now, Jay, explain to me why somebody would put something on a ballot, which is, by the way, is not free.
Right.
Okay. Mount a campaign, argue one way or argue one way or the other for a non-binding. That's kind of like we're going to have an election, but the result doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Whoever wins, it doesn't matter. We're just taking the temperature of the city, I guess.
Well, I mean, they have a plan. There's something that they want to do. If it's binding, that ties their hands, and they're then only able to go with the public's wishes if it's different from their own.
No, yes, but my theory is they're taking the temperature. Now they want to change it.
Yep.
Now they got to figure out the sales pitch.
Right.
Where's the city at right now? Okay.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
46, we're getting close.
Uh-huh.
How do we get to 51? Then it'll be a binding one.
Right.
They got to figure out the sales pitch. So they wanted to name it Nubian Square. Who's Nubian? It doesn't.
It's from like ancient Egypt.
So we're going to name a neighborhood square in Boston off of a governor of Massachusetts and onto an Egyptian.
Don't worry about it. The Egyptians never had slaves.
Oh, okay. Are you sure about that? They go back a ways.
They never had slaves.
Okay.
I mean, other than the whole book of Exodus with the Jews.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there was that whole thing, but don't worry about it.
Yeah, but we all know who doesn't believe in the Bible anyway.
Well.
So, yeah. So, anyway, a non-binding election took place in Boston to rename a block or something. News of the weird. The things that happen in odd year elections.
Oh, there's a number. I mean, we could maybe do a show on that where we find all of these weird propositions that are out there. And
well, we have done shows on odd year elections, generally speaking, but not quite on the results of them.
Right.
But we can do it. The ideas never stop. It's incredible. I mean, unfortunately, it gives us a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, it's not always the best news.
Right.
So, anyhow. All right, onward, Jay. Onward.
Are you going to guess a song or what?
Oh, yeah. What was it again? No, the song.
I'm not giving you the title.
Well, you got to give me the title. I don't remember it now.
I can't give you the title of the song. You need the lyrics again?
It was the Stone Cold thing?
Yeah.
So Stone Cold's the name of it?
I can't.
You didn't fall for that. Okay.
That is in the lyrics.
Okay. Let's see. Since I've only gotten 8 1/4 correct, I'm going to go for another quarter of a right answer.
I know that our
are you
family,
giving me a hint?
Our family out there playing the home game, they're yelling at you like through post recording, they're yelling at you through their computers.
The peanut gallery is upset. I don't know the answer.
Come on, they all know.
I don't know it. I don't know it. Did you think I was going to get this?
Possibly.
I don't know it. I have no idea.
Stone Cold Crazy by Queen.
Really?
Metallica did a cover shortly after that. Oh, shortly after that. It was a good 20 years after that. But yes.
Well, yeah. On the scale of time, it's current events.
Yeah. And I thought, seeing the Freddie Mercury movie, that maybe.
Yeah, I
don't know if that song was in the movie. I haven't seen it, but
I don't know. It was that one song, and then that other song. Because I've got my 3 or 4 or 5 Queen songs that I love that I've heard a million times.
Yeah.
And there's 50 other songs where I didn't know they sung them. Mm-hmm. And I from the movie, I can't remember. I don't remember the ones that came to me. Oh, that's right. They sing that. I don't remember those. I do recall whatever the movie's named after.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
That's it.
Yeah.
And, I remember when Another One Bites the Dust was a big song, and when We Will Rock You was played at every sports, especially in New York. It was played all the time. So they got some good stuff. They have a lot
of good stuff.
When are they going to come up with something new?
I think they have.
I was joking.
They got that Adam Lambert guy singing for them.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They were just in town.
Everybody's still around except Freddie Mercury? Is
Yeah.
he the only one that's passed away? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what is it with? Let me just ask a question. Because it seems like bands, maybe it's burnout, maybe they need to recharge their creative battery. And you know this more than anybody, all the time you've spent doing music. Bands and singers seem to come onto the scene and then disappear for a while and then come back and then try to remake themselves, or maybe that's the wrong word. You don't want to get the been there, done that tag on you. But why is that? Why do they kind of come and go? And do we, as the public, want somebody new, or do we? Because now there's like a nostalgia with certain. I saw Page Plant. Mm-hmm. Sometime in the 90s. The Target Center was a fairly new building, and they sounded like they did in the 70s. They sounded terrific, and I don't remember when Led Zeppelin was at their biggest.
No.
So, it was, I'm not the world's biggest fan of their music, but damn, they put on a good show, and how do you not respect their talent? It was like they could go out now and sell out anything they want.
Oh, they could, but Roger is a little too busy playing tennis.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm just saying they could.
Yes.
But what is it with, Kiss? They've been on a goodbye tour since 1994.
It sells.
Yeah.
That makes them a lot of money being on a goodbye tour.
I guess they don't ever want to quite give it up.
When you're made to do something, you can't really give it up. And when you try, you realize there's a hole there, and you go back and you do it again. I learned when I was young. I had friends that were a little bit older than me. They would get married or have a baby, and they'd quit doing music altogether.
Yeah.
And about 4 years go by at the most, and they're like, "Oh, I got to play again. I learned from that, and I'm like, I'm just not going to stop because I know I will regret it. And why start over? There are so many musicians that have families and have children, and who says, why are they any different than truck drivers or traveling salesmen or professional wrestlers?
I don't know. I think that the difference is that there's the perception that you have to move to a certain city to make it big or sign with a certain
not
label.
anymore.
I tell you what. We'll get into our subject. I just have to quote David Cassidy for a minute.
Yes.
The late David Cassidy from the Partridge Family. But he said that when he made it big in the 70s, not really singing, I think, what he wanted to, but singing what,
what they told him to. Yeah.
Bubblegum rock, they used to call it. I'll never forget what he said in an interview. He said, once you've played the biggest stadiums in the world, what do I do tomorrow to top that?
Right.
I can go back and do it next year. Mm-hmm. But if you look at him, he disappeared.
Yeah.
Came back to this big Vegas thing in the 90s and was totally different than what he did before. But that has to be a weird feeling to be in your 20s or whatever he was then and, play Wembley Stadium and go, okay, where do I go now?
It's all downhill from here.
I don't know.
Oh, I mean, the journey is the, that's the main part of it, enjoy the journey and then wherever it goes. And maybe you do play the big places when you're in your 20s, but then, how do you top it? I mean, maybe it isn't, bigger and better. Maybe it's just
not.
What
but,
challenges you more? What makes you happy?
But what you mentioned about climbing and doing that, once you get to the top, you have to find something new.
Yep.
To go for.
You just got to keep dreaming.
And I think you talked about people not enjoying it. I think a lot of people on the ride to the top don't enjoy it. I think too many of our people that we grew up listening to got involved in things that screwed their lives up.
Yeah.
As great as musicians as they were, so I don't think they enjoy it. I think they look back now and it's a blur.
Yeah.
So anyhow, enough talk with the music,
all right.
Jay. We got to get into a city that's very, very close to where we are.
Okay.
A stone's throw from where we are.
A 9-iron shot.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a
5-wood for me, but okay. That is the wonderful city of Golden Valley, Minnesota. Wonderful, wonderful city.
It's beautiful this time of year.
Yes, there's not a leaf in the entire city. It's as ugly as every other city is. No, I'm kidding. What happened there on Election Day, Jay, let me set the stage here. We haven't talked much about Golden Valley for a couple of reasons. One, I hate odd-year elections. It seems to be another city kind of asleep half the time. And quite frankly, not a lot of big news kind of comes out of there, not too often. We've mentioned them a few times.
Yeah, they kind of follow St. Louis Park a lot. They lag behind, and
I think they're going to catch up pretty soon.
They may.
Golden Valley City Council. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about the council prior to election night.
Okay.
You had 5 Democrats, 5 left-of-center people.
Yes.
On the city council.
That is correct.
Mayor Shep Harris, who is definitely left-of-center, definitely somebody with higher political ambitions. You had Joni Clausen, who's been there for a long time, and you had Steve Schmidgall, who's been there for quite a while. Larry Finest, who was an old DFL SD 45 vice chair. You had a fairly far left person. What's her name? Why is that escaping me? She followed
Jillian Rosenquist.
Yes, Rosenquist.
Yeah.
Who was just elected in 2017. So 5 people, pretty left of, to varying degrees, okay, left of center. You would think, and I'm just spitballing, I mean, if we had that council and it was the reverse,
yes,
you and I would be pretty fine with it.
Yeah.
Even if there was some disagreement, even if maybe they didn't move as fast on an issue as we had hoped. We certainly wouldn't grab a bunch of people and run against them.
Right.
Golden Valley did just that.
Wow.
Okay, now let me again set the stage. Rosenquist and Larry Finest were not up for re-election.
Right.
Steve Schmidgall gave up his seat to run for mayor, and he got defeated.
Yes.
Joni Clausen ran for re-election, and she got defeated. The 2 people that are replacing them
yes,
are far to the left of even the people who were there. Mm-hmm. And that tells me, let me tell you the first thing that tells me, that the DFL activists did not think the Golden Valley City Council was left enough. Mm-hmm. Wasn't good enough. Wasn't good enough that they supported transit and roundabouts and higher taxes, deficit spending, high-density housing, which is subsidized by their TIF districts. They created their equity plan and blah, blah, blah.
Bike lanes.
Their human rights board and so on, and their open spaces committee.
Yeah.
That wasn't
they
good
have
enough.
Their own LGBT week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Their own gay pride stuff. In fact, one of the people who was elected was an organizer of that. But that wasn't enough.
Okay.
Was not good enough. They elected two people who were much to the left of that. They got another Harris on board.
Yeah.
Maurice Harris.
No relation.
I don't think so. They don't look like each other. I mean, you got to remember, Shep's about 5'4", weighs maybe $1.25.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
Maurice does not weigh $1.25.
No, at least $1.50. And
yes,
the other one, Kimberly Sandberg.
Yes. No relation to Sandberg Middle School.
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Nothing to do with old Carl. And they were definitely to the left of the current people there.
Yes.
In fact, Jay, you and I have done some looking.
Yes.
And, I did do an article on this. You can go to communitysolutionsmn.com and see the article about Golden Valley moving further to the left. But it's interesting that Clausen, who's been a pretty reliable vote on their council, she does have some differing views on a few things. She was initially against Botno, and I think she got bought off, or whatever happened. Her and Shep didn't get along personally. I don't know what the hair up their asses were. And Schmidgall, same thing. The differences were more personal, I thought, than they were issue-based.
Yes.
But like I said, again, that wasn't good enough. No, they had to turn the seats from Martin Sabo to Ilhan Omar. That's what had to happen here for this new wave of people. Now, the Golden Valley City Charter, Jay, is pretty clear on Golden Valley City Council duties. Public safety, parks, roads, etc., the normal things. I would like somebody out in the peanut gallery, instead of yelling at me that I don't know the song at the beginning of the show, to scour Maurice Harris and Kimberly Sandberg's websites and tell me where any part of the city charter enters what they would like to do for the city.
Okay.
And you will not find a reference to it. Parks, maybe. Mm-hmm. Of course, they call them open spaces. That's the new trendy word now in the government lexicon. You show me where they mention any of the basic duties that they are now elected to oversee. It's not about that for them.
Right.
It's about transforming Golden Valley into some utopia, where they are the be-all, end-all. Let me give you an example. I'm going to read this word for word from Maurice Harris's website.
Okay.
It's a little long, but just stick with me on this.
And that's at votemaurice.com.
Yes. This is what he says about housing. Now, Jay, first off, I'm going to read this to you. I want you to attempt to interpret it. I'm going to tell you what I think it means, and I'm curious as to what you think it means.
Okay.
We need a variety of creative, accessible, and affordable housing.
Affording housing is what.
Oh, affording housing.
Yeah.
That's right. I guess I didn't notice the spelling error he had. Options in Golden Valley, not just large apartment complexes or single-family homes. Other communities are modernizing their zoning codes to find sustainable, efficient housing options that allow older residents to age in place and new younger residents to be able to join the home owning community. These communities are exploring mother-in-law apartments, housing centered around garden spaces, even tiny homes to create affordable, sustainable housing options. It's time to look forward to bringing more housing options to Golden Valley that complement the character of the neighborhoods. Now, we saw, if this were Pee Wee Herman,
yes,
and we had the words of the day, the dinger would have went off about 25 times there. No, you and I know code language when we see it.
Yeah. Tell me what, Couchy.
Yeah. Anyway, but I mean, when you talk about other communities are modernizing their zoning codes, Jay, what city recently did that?
Well, a number of them have, but Minneapolis is the most distinct.
Ding. So, a Minneapolis-style zoning change.
Yeah, I mean, and let me say, the mother-in-law apartments, I think that's a good change. Crystal did that, and it allows for you to, on your own property, build. It gives you more freedom on your property to build extra things, and that's fine.
It's kind of like in Growing Pains when Mike Seaver lived in the garage.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah. That's exactly what it's like. Yeah. That's it.
It doesn't have to be a new building, I guess, is
right.
what I'm saying.
Right, exactly. It can be a loft above a garage or whatever.
Or an addition.
But with some of these other things, I mean, we're talking about central planning directing this stuff. And it's not a freedom issue. It is coming straight out of the Planning Commission.
Right. Well, it
is straight from the planning director through the Planning Commission.
But here's the other thing.
Yes.
I mean, this is transformative here. Because here's what's going to happen. These ideas, and I'm using air quotes again, are going to be pushed. Meaning you're going to see TIF. You're going to see abatements. It's not the free market. It's not saying, okay, let's remove these restrictions here. And if somebody wants to build something on their own property, we're going to, within reason, we're going to let them.
Right.
If somebody wants to, in the free market, purchase something and change it, we're going to allow that under our... No, this is... He wants to make it happen.
Yes. So what would happen? Now, Golden Valley is a developed city.
Yeah.
It is not one where it's got all this open space to be able to give to developers.
It's not Lakeville.
Well, not give to developers, but you know what I mean. To allow developers to come in and create these communities of homes. So what happens? Golden Valley has a number of houses that are on the higher end. What if, let's say that there's a house out in that area that where some of those bigger ones are that becomes blighted, becomes foreclosed on, and the city decides, you know what, we are going to put on that property 4 tiny houses. What does that do to home values in that area?
Well, I mean, it has to devalue them because, I mean, imagine a scenario. Well, I guess it depends who lives there, who maintains it. A lot of things happen in home prices.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what people really want is that nice single-family neighborhood where you know everybody and it's not... I think the more you divvy something up and the smaller you make things, the more turnover you're going to have.
Right.
So probably doesn't help. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, a tiny home, something. What's the definition of that? What a Smurf lives in, or what?
Generally, what is it, like 400 square feet and smaller?
Okay, so it's a studio.
I think, or 450, something like that. Tell you what, when you go home, bring up the old Comcast and look up tiny houses. There's about 700 million shows
Oh, really?
Yeah, where people are building
I
tiny
don't
houses,
watch TV
tiny house
anymore,
hunters. I don't really watch it either, but I know they're out there, and
Tree
I have
houses?
seen it. No, I don't know about tree houses, but
Possibly.
tiny houses. Yeah, they're small. A lot of them have lofts. It's basically a guy that's like you're in my size. Ramming into walls all the time.
No,
it's a turnaround.
My stomach would be hitting the wall while the door hits me in the arse. Anyway,
yeah.
But there's a hostility clearly to single family homes.
Yes.
And not, quote, wanting that. Well,
you're right. And we've seen articles in the Twin Cities area. There is a shortage, supposedly, of entry-level homes. Now, I don't think tiny homes qualifies, and certainly
that's a misnomer because we keep changing the definition of an entry-level home.
Right.
You look at communities, they don't build them anymore.
Absolutely.
They try to maximize the tax value of every property without thinking what a burden it could put on somebody to look. The foreclosures happen. They're the first ones to go. Mm-hmm. Are the $400,000 houses? The people who live in the $180,000 houses could probably make the payment.
Yeah,
but if you're paying double or triple that, chances are that. You think about. There were whole neighborhoods that were in prominent cities. That were abandoned in the last housing. And I'm telling you, at some point we're going to hit something with housing because it infinitely can't keep going up.
Right.
And at some point when interest rates aren't manipulated anymore and, the FDIC is not being governed by this, setting maximum rates, you're going to see a correction in there. And I don't know that it's going to be as bad as it was before, but we're heading towards that.
We are.
So the shortage is, what I'm saying is, the shortage is manufactured. It's manufactured because governments try to jack up property values, to jack up the taxes, and so on. They're contributing to this problem. At the same time, they're complaining about it. You have a problem with what it costs to own a home? Cut somebody's taxes. Quit deficit spending. And having $100 million in debt and spending, 10% of your budget servicing it.
Yes.
There are solutions. I'm just saying there are.
Yeah.
He's got some interesting environmental positions.
Yes.
And I'm going to paraphrase this, but he is strongly committed to there's the S word again.
Oh, boy.
Sustainability and green practices as the city moves forward. Golden Valley has many avenues toward improving its impact on the environment. Everything from hosting zero waste events to creating a more pollinator-friendly zones. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think that's code language for.
Okay.
Number one, he wants to organize garbage hauling.
Probably.
I think that's implied here. We're going to bump up green step. Doesn't say it, but what are these green practices? Who's he talking about?
Right.
He's probably talking about their fleet of vehicles, their carbon footprint, blah, 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 blah. And we're going to see a lot of those best practices implemented or pushed. So, lot to say from a lot of, I don't know what a pollinator-friendly zone is, that where bees are labeled endangered species?
Well, no, but like a lot of wildflowers and, maybe community hives, things like that.
Couldn't like the park board do something like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Well, I know, like in St. Louis Park over at Westwood Nature Preserve, they have an apiary over there with a whole stack of like a bee colony
I don't like bees. I get stung by them.
Yeah, you got to stop swatting at them. You got to stop trying to catch them in your hand.
Well, I swear that I'm not trying to. They sting me anyway.
Yeah. You got to stop rolling around in honey before you go out.
Well, that might. I remember mowing the lawn with no socks on, and one stung me on the ankle, and I remember that hurt bad.
Ouch.
And I do remember stepping on a beehive once. I got stung 6 times on my right foot.
I remember as a kid out on a dock, got my cast caught in a tree.
Well, you wonder why you don't catch anything.
I was young. I don't get them caught in trees.
That was
now.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah. I climbed up the tree to get my lure loose, and there was a beehive up the tree, and I didn't know it. I come back down. I have I don't know how many bees on me.
Oh.
Jump in the lake with all my clothes on, and still got stung
Let
quite
it be,
a few times.
let it be. Yeah. All right.
Oh.
Anyhow,
those
we
were
learn
the
something
days.
new every day.
Yes.
I also want to talk about Mr. Harris here. His service to Golden Valley.
Yes.
Now, you tell me, somebody who serves on these committees, what do you think they're...
Mr. Harris being the newly elected Mr. Harris.
Right,
Yes.
not the mayor.
Yes.
Harris he talks in the third person on the website, which so he's maybe the one thing he has in common with Bob Dole. It's just Bob Dole's this, Bob Dole's that. Harris has served on the City of Golden Valley Human Rights Commission since 2017. Where he was the chair for a year. And he's a committee member of the City of Golden Valley's Rising Tides Task Force. That is their equity group.
Yes.
That is trying to find racism or something.
Talked about it in a previous podcast.
Yes, everywhere. And we analyzed St. Louis parks pretty harshly.
Yes.
So that's his big experience coming into government. So I think we're going to get a lot, too, of... remember, there's a difference between equity and equality. Mm-hmm. We're going to get a lot of equity lectures from this gentleman as well. So it's a big agenda. Again, nothing's about basic services or following the charter or any kind of limits on government whatsoever.
Well, why would you want that?
I don't know. But I'm going to tell you where this all leads here in a minute once we talk about Miss Sandberg here.
Yes.
Once again, it's funny because on her website, she talks about how she supports transit, she supports bike paths, blah, blah, blah. And my reaction to it was the city's already doing that.
Yeah.
So why run if the city's already doing many of the things that you talk about? What's the point?
Yes.
It doesn't make sense. Well, why, you ask, Jay? To take the city even further. What's going on ain't, which I know ain't a word, but I'm saying it anyway, taking it a step further. They ain't doing enough. Mm-hmm. And if you read the tea leaves... I want one statement that really comes out because the things. First of all, Miss Sandberg is gay or a lesbian or whatever you want to say. She's very open about it. She's got her, I don't know what you call it, partner. Is it a wife and a wife?
If they're married.
Okay.
If they're not married, then they
I guess I'm ignorant here. They have kids as well.
When you're married, I guess it kind of works the same terminology-wise.
Okay.
So.
All right. Again, I learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And she's all over the LGBTQ. What does Q mean?
Questioning.
Questioning.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know that. She talks about social justice. She talks about... nowhere does she mention public safety, anything like that. And I want this statement that she makes to sink in. We need a collaborative, forward-looking people on the city council
Yes.
who will take action. Now that tells me, I mean, that statement there is enough. I don't need to read anymore. Forward thinking to take action, meaning there's a million things I want to do, and I got my own agenda, and I am pushing it, in your face, whether you want it or not. I don't give a damn. And it's also great. How does somebody with a huge agenda like these two have sit around and talk about listening to people?
Yeah.
Knock on my door with this agenda, and maybe they'll be, quiet while I'm talking, but I don't think it has any effect whatsoever.
No.
I mean, zero.
They already know what they want to do.
So, I mean, and by the way, what I also want to say is the groups that she got to back her. I have not seen a money campaign report yet, but the groups that back Women Winning, which is a pro-abortion group.
Yeah.
I don't know who Stonewall DFL is.
We looked them up not too long ago.
Okay. You do that while I read them off.
Okay.
Out Front Minnesota, I know they are a gay and lesbian group or pushing their issues, whatever those are. The local carpenters union, which we've talked about before, the AFL-CIO, which has gotten involved in all these local elections as well. So, I mean, she got a large amount of outside.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she got something for it. I don't know what, because the campaign reports are not available yet.
Stonewall DFL is the LGBTQ caucus of the Minnesota Democrats Farmer Labor Party.
I see.
Yes.
So again, now, let me ask you a question. What does being gay have anything to do with local office?
Well, when you're a Democrat, you do favors for the people.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So, and according to Mr. Harris, we should, council person-elect Harris, we should remind,
yes,
he is a minority. He's a black guy.
Yeah.
So are these candidates then that check the boxes that everybody's looking for? Steve Schmidgall and Joni Clausen are like the Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden of this here.
Yeah.
Whereas these folks are much, much younger.
Yes.
They're I'm going to guess they're in their 30s.
They're definitely like the squad.
Yeah. Well, not just views-wise, but age-wise.
Yes.
We're turning the page here.
Yes.
From one generation to the next. So now I want to get into what I think is going to happen.
Yes.
So you can how about we bring up Miss Rosenquist in this?
We could.
'Cause she's already on the council, and she's got a lot of, I hesitate to call it interesting viewpoints, because I don't find them interesting. But
yeah, it was funny. I was just kind of looking through the Stonewall DFL page here. They do endorse candidates. We've heard of a few of these before.
We have, huh?
Yeah. Interesting.
Candidates that we've heard?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, just a couple of podcast episodes ago, we talked about from St. Cloud, Dai Tao for St. Paul, Ward 1. Ward 2,
D-I-E?
Yes.
Oh, don't say it. No, don't say it.
You don't want me to
say it.
Rebecca Knocker. Chris Tolbert for Ward 3.
Hey, what if
everybody in St. Paul that's sitting on this?
What if instead of like knockers for council, it was for knockers council or something? We can't do that again. We can't do that. So some of our friends are there.
Yes.
Okay. So again, I mean, we've talked about these outside groups. Why are they getting into local elections? Well, it's to breed. It's the breeding grounds for future legislators, congresspeople, so on and so forth.
Yes.
To move up the ladder and to kind of what our vision is in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Of working. So, Miss Rosenquist, you got to love her experience. She was on the Open Space and Recreation Commission, the Botno Station Planning Citizens Advisory Committee. Oh, I almost lost my breath. Board member of the League of Women Voters. Boy, when have we talked about those recently?
That was only a few podcast episodes ago.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, so Minnesotans United for All Families, where Kimberly Sandberg was too. Let's see. What are her wonderful, wonderful things? She's all about housing options and for all generations, environmental stewardship. Just pretty much the same stuff, maybe worded differently. A clear supporter of organized garbage hauling, although she doesn't quite come out and say that, but she may as well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Big on the bike and pedestrian task force, and so on and so forth. So she's pretty much allied with the two that are coming in, I think.
Yeah. She served on the Open Space and Recreation Commission, Botno LRT Station Planning, and Citizens Advisory Committees. Yeah.
So the laundry list, list of kind of the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and once again, the importance of getting on a commission and serving on something to have that street cred when you run. I mean, we can't, I know we emphasize that a lot ad nauseum, but it's extremely important. Now,
yes.
What's going to happen? Because I think the more important thing is what happens in Golden Valley going forward. So Larry Finesse is still there. Shep is still there, just reelected for another 4 years. Where does it go from here? Now, Jay, I want you and I to go back and forth on this.
Okay.
I'm going to say one thing that I think is going to happen, then you think of something that's going to happen. We'll play a little game here.
Okay.
I'll go first, so you guys, because I like to put you on the spot. I like the spontaneity.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really talk much before the shows. We just kind of make a. I know it's hard to believe that this isn't planned out, but.
Yeah, because this just runs so smooth sometimes. Well-oiled machine.
I think the first thing. Here's one thing I think we're going to see. The gun moratorium, I think, is going to come back.
Really?
For certain. Yes. The two main opponents of that were Schmidgall and Clausen.
Yes.
They're gone. I think there's no doubt in my mind the two coming in are going to be more activist, more willing to take up causes that have nothing to do with what they're doing. I'm not really sure. I thought Shep Harris was kind of wishy-washy on it, open to it. But I think it was questionable whether they had the votes to do what they had talked about.
Yeah.
I think it's going to come back. I think you're going to see, where did we have it? Eden Prairie had it, I think it was. I think you're going to see something similar to that be proposed and passed in the next 2 years. There's prediction number one.
Wow.
There's my prognosis. I put these things on the line. Remember primary day last year, how bad my predictions were? Well, I'm willing to eat crow and get egg thrown in my face. It's okay. But that's number one, what I think is going to happen. Jay, what do you think? Give me something that you think you're going to see them push.
Oh, boy. I do think that as Botno is, I mean, it's not for sure. Obviously, Hennepin County is still acting like it is.
According to Hennepin County, this was supposed to start being built 2 years ago.
Yes. The railroad is still not budging, thank goodness. Keep it up.
They have no state and federal funding either.
Please, Canadian Pacific, keep it up.
BNSF.
And BNSF, yeah. Just don't budge. But based on that, I know that there was quite a hubbub around where they wanted to put one of these stations down in Theoworth Parkway.
Yes, and we should mention that A lot of the opposition. Joni Clausen was one.
Yeah.
Not going to be there anymore. I think Shep was wishy-washy on that. He favors the line. Didn't really favor that route.
Right.
So,
however, now with people that want equity, and you look at the goals of transit-oriented development, they are going to actively be trying to, and I don't know if it'll be through eminent domain in the EDA or if they are just going to maybe buy things up as they're for sale, or they're just going to take a little corner of Theodore Wirth Park and decide to start building that out. But I foresee maybe some low-income housing out that way. Might be mixed-use development, obviously, because we know what transit-oriented development is, and that's creating a community that is walkable to the station.
everything within half a mile.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an astute one that I didn't even think of. I think I'm going to piggyback on that real quick, then I'm going to get into my next prediction.
Okay.
I'm going to piggyback on that they want that light rail and they don't care where it goes now.
Right.
Nobody's going to make a stink about where a station is. Fine, whatever. Put it wherever you want. They want it in, and they're not going to care about the consequences.
Right.
That's ideologues in there. Speaking of an issue that I think the current council, or the council that's exiting, wanted to do
Yeah.
and has not done, and I mentioned it earlier, is organized garbage hauling. There was a survey taken a few years back in Golden Valley. I should have looked it up. It was too much work to try to find it. Well, I mean, I don't remember what year. It doesn't matter. But residents were very much against organized garbage hauling by like a 65-35 margin. And Golden Valley had concluded, and I'm paraphrasing this, that the support isn't there yet for it. It was something along those lines. My theory was that the council wanted to do it, but they were, either A, they listened to the people, or B, they were afraid to push it. Then maybe they saw what happened in New Hope, where New Hope finally woke up for a few weeks.
Right.
And, people really came out in opposition to it, because I think the New Hope City Council wanted to do it too. And so I think that the old council had the votes to do it, but decided not to.
Yeah.
This council, I don't think cares. I don't think they're going to care.
Yeah.
I think in their minds, the greater good of the environment, people just don't understand it. We have to do it for them.
Yes.
I think that's going to be the attitude taken. Because I'm going to tell you something. With the new Harris guy and Sandberg and Jillian Rosenquist, they've got 3 votes easy to do this. Shep and Larry Funes, I don't know what side they fall on. Maybe they would vote yes, possibly. If there was a big brushback, I think they may rethink it. I think it's going to happen in the next 2 to 4 years. I'm not going to say it's going to happen right away, because I think they have to sell it.
Yes.
I think they have to work up to that. But I think that is an issue in Golden Valley that's not going away. They've been waiting and waiting. But I think that those 3 are not going to care. They're going to gamble that people will forget it by the next election comes around or whatever. And that the environment, you can't make the almighty dollar.
Yes.
You got to follow that Communist Manifesto. So I think that for sure we're going to see that. Maybe in the end it won't happen. That issue isn't going away. They're going to have organized garbage hauling. Jay, it's your turn. Okay. Unless you have comments on that or disagree with me.
No, I don't disagree at all.
Because I allow disagreement, even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and we see this. I mean, whether it is with organized garbage hauling or Tobacco 21.
Do they have that there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do believe they have Tobacco 21 in Golden Valley. So.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe a while back, Golden Valley adopted a policy that their landlords of, who rent out to individuals or families that they are not able to. The city can come in and do an inspection anytime they want.
Yes.
And
the renters have no private property
rights. The renters
rights.
have no private property rights. The landlords really have no private property rights. They're going to take it a step further. They're going to, again, follow suit with St. Louis Park. And I don't know to what degree this is in place now, but I foresee that landlords are not going to have the option to do background checks and, check on the do like a credit check.
They're not going to be
like
able
that.
to pick their own tenants.
No, they're going to have to accept whoever.
Wow. Now, how... That's a good one, too, that I didn't think of, and I know that's happening in some other cities.
Yes.
How is that implemented, I wonder? I mean, do I have to tell the city who's renting?
No, but I think, if a renter brings a case against a landlord and says so-and-so won't let me rent there, that's
they have to make the case as to why.
Right.
So it's guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
Holy cow. You may be onto something, Jay. I'm going to try another issue.
Okay.
I don't know what the support is like, but since Golden Valley is drifting towards St. Louis Park, what else does St. Louis Park have on Election Day?
Oh, boy, ranked choice voting.
Ranked choice voting.
Yeah.
Golden Valley is a charter city. I don't know what this, again, I don't know what the support is from Fonest or Shep. I don't know.
Right.
They've both been there for quite a while and have, to my knowledge, never pushed ranked choice voting once. I could be wrong, but I've never heard that before. What do you want to bet that their charter commission or somebody like that or the new members or something push ranked choice voting as an option, using St. Louis Park perhaps as, hey, our neighbors have it, maybe we should consider it. I'm going to predict it does not happen. I am going to predict that it is close, and they do talk about it, and they do come close to enacting it, but don't quite do it.
Right.
How do you like that for a how do you like the specificity of that?
That's pretty specific.
I think they're going to want to do it. I think they're going to get cold feet, and they don't do it. And a charter change takes more than 3 votes, especially that. I think it takes 4 there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it really has to be, really, it probably has to be unanimous for that really to happen. Some provisions have to be unanimous, actually, in a charter.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be difficult. It's a difficult change to make. But I say that the issue gets pushed.
Yeah. I think it will.
So... You got any more predictions? You're a great prognosticator of...
I think that they are going to continue to pick up the equity ball. And that you are going to see... And again, I have nothing against hiring anybody in city government based on their looks. There might be some guy that's got like one eye and, hasn't taken a bath in a week. You can skip that guy. But you're going to see exclusively a lot more minorities, a lot more women, a lot more gay, transgender folk that are being appointed to the city advisory groups, advisory commissions, and actually hired on staff. And if you're whitey, good luck.
Honkies need not apply. That's my famous saying. I'm going to make another prediction. I'm going to agree with that. Make another prediction. Golden Valley just got an award last summer for Step 4 in Green Step. I'm going to say they get to Step 5 in the next 2 years, whatever that is. I don't even want to know. I don't want to look at it. Yeah. I'm sure organized garbage hauling will be one of the things. They don't have that right now. I'm going to say they go in the next 4 years. They go from Step 4 to Step 5. Him and New Hope are in a race.
Yeah.
See who can get there fastest.
Well,
I'm
we'll
going to
see.
say I'm going to say that they get there in the efforts in environmental sustainability and its progress within Green Step.
I think another thing that will help them get there is an increased number of bike lanes.
Definitely, without a doubt, you're going to see that. So that means whatever the Park District wants, whatever Met Council wants, the county probably will get rubber stamped.
Yes.
You know, I think that's pretty. I mean, I think it kind of has been already.
Right.
And it probably.
Well, and we'll be able to do it. We'll see it, and let me piggyback on this with a double prediction. I know that they want to create a downtown area for Golden Valley, and that is going to be...
What would you consider downtown Golden Valley right now? What would that be, 55?
Yeah, 55 probably.
So what is the downtown supposed to look like?
It's going to have bike lanes. It's going to have green spaces. It is going to have mixed-use development.
They got some of that.
Yeah, they've got some of that, but they're going to keep building on that. And I know that especially like that corridor around 394, there's a ton of mixed-use development. They are currently Olive Garden is moving over by closer to Ridgedale. They're going to put more luxury apartments in that spot.
What about affordable housing or affording housing?
You have to make some of them Section 8.
Well,
by law. It's not all. I mean, they've got all of these luxury apartments. A certain percentage of them have to be Section 8.
They have to be Section 8 or they have to be, quote, affordable.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know because Section 8 is...
I think they have to be Section 8.
Really? So those vouchers have to be accepted at somewhere in a city?
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting. I didn't know that. So, well, that's a lot of predictions.
Yeah?
I'm going to make another one.
Okay.
But I think you're going to see some serious splits on this council.
That is a great prediction.
I think that... again, you have 5 people left of center to varying degrees. But I think you're going to see Shep Harris and Larry Fonest dissent on some of the more pushy things. And you even could see a swing vote maybe with the other 3, depending on the issue.
Yeah.
Or depending on the feedback. Or depending on who's up for re-election in the next year. I'm going to predict Shep doesn't run again. After this, I think these 4 years are going to age him terribly.
Yeah.
He may even shrink like 2 more inches.
You may end up running for...
He may get kicked
something.
up.
Yeah.
I mean, that may happen. I don't know. But I'm going to say Larry Finesse does not run again either.
Yeah.
And they could get replaced with, we've made fun of Shep Harris a lot over this last decade, but he could get replaced with somebody a whole lot worse.
Oh, yeah.
It's possible.
Oh.
So, but I think you're going to see more infighting than you think.
Yeah.
It may not be out front, in front of the cameras so much.
Yeah.
And I think Finesse and Shep Harris will both be out of there after this. And who knows what that vacuum gets filled with.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I want to congratulate Kimberly Sandberg and Maurice Harris that they were elected with about 20% of the registered voters.
Wow.
In Golden Valley.
Golden Valley voters, you killed it.
Yeah, so
wow.
Their support, and Shep got like 27%. Once again, I mean...
Nobody shows up.
Nobody shows up. I think it was 4,500 out of 15,000 or something like that. It was ridiculous. It was, again, a disgrace. Odd-year elections are the stupidest thing in the world. They should be changed. I've said this before. I'm not necessarily in favor of the state coming in and mandating that, although I think elections are so important that maybe that is a role for the state. I don't know. But I'll let somebody else worry about that. But odd-year elections stink. They suck. I hate them. And I don't know how anybody who gets, 1,000 or 2,000 votes out of a city of 20,000 thinks they represent anybody.
Nope.
So, So Golden Valley, you got a lot to. We'll play this show back. What are we going? What show are we going to be on in about 4 years? Like 350?
Oh, what? Yeah, add a couple hundy to where we're at.
We'll have to go back at this show and see how right. I hope we're not like 10 for 10. You know, I don't. You know, I mean, we're making our best guesses based on two people who got elected and haven't served yet, but. I think we're being pretty accurate on what's going to happen. So, sorry, people from Golden Valley.
Enjoy all that.
Yeah.
Well, and that brings up an interesting point. And we've talked a lot, I think, about how we feel about odd-year elections and how we feel about special elections are a different deal. I think in a future podcast we'll probably talk about state law and special elections and why we think that's a better idea than appointing, and you've heard us harp on that a lot. But outside of that realm, doing elections at a time when people don't participate just is not good for your city. And how do you change it? How do you get them on the even year? How do you get a community behind participating in elections? And part of that is by being involved in the process. I mean, if you just sit there and shake your fist at your computer or your phone as you're listening to this, it doesn't accomplish a whole lot. Neither does it accomplish a lot don't get me wrong, we love the feedback. Make sure, on Facebook or wherever you're listening to this you share it, you like, whatever. That helps get the word out there, but it's more than that. It is about actually sticking your foot out there and saying, I'm gonna take a step forward. I'm gonna do something about this. I'm gonna get on an advisory commission. I'm gonna run for an office. You guys have heard this a billion times from us. I mean, unless you just found us this week, in which case, welcome and thank you for listening to our podcast. But here's the problem. We sit back on our laurels and we watch all of this happen and we get upset, but we don't ever actually do anything which is going to make for an even better community. And the time is over for politics to be a spectator sport. It can't be anymore. Governing is left to those that show up. Well, guess what? If you're just complaining, you're not showing up. So, what you going to do about it? In the immortal words of Hulk Hogan, what you going to do?
Brother,
when local government runs wild on you. And it's going to run.
That was mediocre.
That was terrible. I'm not the impressionist. That's you. You're the impressionist of the group.
Thank you.
Yes, but it is running wild on you. So what you going to do? The time is now to stand up and be counted. The time is now to sacrifice just a little bit today for your children's good tomorrow. So who's in? Okay, now that you've raised your hand and nobody sees it because you're sitting alone or people are looking at you weird because you're sitting on a miserable bus or something somewhere, put your hand down, raise the hand in your heart there, and dedicate. Today is the day that you're going to change things. You are going to be involved. You're going to do things different. You're going to march down to City Hall. You're going to fill out an application or school district central or the county district or county board, and you're going to fill out an application to get on an advisory commission, because that's where it starts. That's where you start to learn the business of governing. That's entry-level governing, and that is where you can begin to have an effect today. You like it, you can run for an office. You don't like it, you can stay there, and you can govern, because we need people at all levels. So what you going to do? We need 20,000 people in this state. Are you going to be one of them? Are you going to be a part of history? Are you going to be part of this adventure that we're calling people to? Or are you going to just look on and say, I remember when that happened? Yeah. And now be a part of it. Why would you want that? Come and be a part. You see things going on in your community, you want to run for office, you want to get on an advisory commission, get a hold of us. COMM Solutions, MN at gmail.com. That is COMM Solutions, MN at gmail.com. And we would love to help you out because that's why we're here. 20,000 seats. It's going to happen. You be one of them. All right? We love you, Minnesota. And now it's your turn to get to work.
Get too caught up